Workers who got their bosses fired. How? I used to work at a title company and witnessed our department manager forge mortgage documents on a fairly regular basis. So when she went to upper management to throw the entire department under the bus for being behind on recording documents, I marched straight 2 hours to resign and let them know what she was doing. She was fired and they called me and offered my job back before the week was out. I used math to prove to their superior how severely my boss had underestimated turnover 3 years in a row, costing a ton of money and labor issues. One day earlier the boss had screamed at my team until his face went purple, making a huge spectacle in front of the entire floor. The gist was that we were colluding against the company by a handful of us, electing not to renew our contracts. Came back with graphs and maths. Baby. He was demoted and transferred out a couple weeks later. Pro tip: don't make a grumpy scapegoat out of someone who loves to make Excel graphs. I had proven myself as a competent management level employee. She on the other hand showed favoritism, broke rules, set schedules nobody could work, and all around didn't give a crap as assistant manager. When the manager left she assumed she was a shoo-in. After all, she was the assistant manager, so why wouldn't she be promoted? We both got called into a meeting. The district uppity up told us both that I was going to be the new manager, and she lost her crap. I never saw her again. And quickly after, all her relatives that worked there quit mysteriously. I got my boss disbarred. He was an attorney who was a serial sexual abuser of female clients, criminal defendants. He got away with it for over 20 years and preyed upon at least 12 different victims. The Office of Attorney Regulation censured him multiple times for other offenses, like being late to pay his annual bar fees. But even though they knew about at least 5 of the victims, they wouldn't disbar him. I discovered that the Office of Attorney Regulation decides whether to pursue an action against an attorney based on a cost-benefit analysis. I gathered as much documentation of everything as I could over a 6-month period. I've told it before. Not fired but transferred. Had a squad leader make us all stand out in the Missouri winter soaking wet until someone volunteered for weekend duty. I told him I had previous cold weather injuries. Frostbite. He ignored it. The corporal saw my blue feet when I took off my boots and sent me to the aid station. The doctor lost his crap and that squad leader was in another company the next day. It's not as justice bonering as getting an idiot fired, but it's the army that's not gonna happen. Advanced through the company through hard work and dedication and slowly began to usurp the boss's duties and responsibilities. Eventually the owner realized what a lazy schmuck the old boss was and laid him off. A week later I got a new title and a 35% raise. I had a boss who refused to make accommodations for a disabled coworker, refused to keep other staff in line, and basically let the disabled worker fall behind and get picked on because she, the boss, felt like she was not required to do anything else. I work for a local government agency and reported it to our hours and upper management. After they did nothing, I contacted them again to let them know I would be filing a suit with the ACLU for ADA violations. My boss was gone in 2 weeks and the rest of the staff had mandatory ADA trainings. By doing so much, it started an investigation into what they were actually doing during their day. Officially she was fired for sending nudes through corporate email, but the only reason they were tracking her email was to understand what she was spending her time on. It turns out it was an affair. I worked in a bar, and I caught my supervisor giving her and her friends free drinks and taking bottles home. They reviewed the CCTV and found she was also dealing drugs from behind the bar, and she was fired the next day. Removed. I quit because I was sick of her crap. On my way home the company's president called to talk to me about what had happened. He offered me 2 weeks of paid vacation. Extra vacation on top of the 5 weeks I already received, and promised she would be gone when I came back. Removed. She was hired as a new director. Didn't know much of anything about what she claimed she did. The straw that broke the camel's back was when she stated her boss would sign anything she put in front of him because he didn't know what it was. Oops. Not fired, but moved stores and demoted. He posted publicly on his Facebook asking why so many of his staff have mental problems. He also posted a few weeks before that he was having a cheeky snow day and skipping work. I reported it myself, considering I had been on a final written warning for breaking the social media policy. I don't see why he shouldn't be either. Proved he didn't know how to do his job and was just passing my work offices. I got a manager fired because he sexually harassed me on Facebook. Removed. I didn't get him fired per se, but something I was involved in did. I was testing welds in the bull nose area of a power boiler and basically a 20-foot piece of steel boiler tube with 8 membrane welded to each side, so it looked like a huge axe fell and just about chopped me in half. I reported the incident to my boss, the night shift supervisor, and he said we would take care of it. I had to fill out a report myself, which I handed off to the safety lead when he showed up in the morning. My boss never reported anything. He lost his job the next day for mishandling the situation. It wasn't his first strike. We caught him beating his meat. My mother got this done. She worked for a starting company and her boss really needed her help. Because the boss wanted my father to invest. He owns a couple of companies. My mother would get a job as a second-rank CEO. Right under the women she got fired. In fact, the boss kept treating her like crap, so she told my father. My father told the other investors and all 3 of them cancelled the deal. They set up the same kind of company with my mom as only CEO. All people who worked for that former boss left and began working at the new company.